Welcome to Cookout. Today we're going to be making fry bread with my dear friend and former sous chef, Bobby Mullenberg. She is also a part of the Colville Confederated Tribes. So we're going to learn about the history of fry bread, Native American foods, food security, and so much more. Let's go. I grew up with a lot of privilege. I grew up in a middle-class home. Access to food was never an issue. And then in fine dining restaurants, I've always had the luxury to be able to work with these incredible ingredients. The thing that has always haunted me, I'm feeding maybe 5-10% of the population that can actually afford to eat this way. And so what are the challenges that are out there? There's hunger, the accessibility to food deserts, lack of nutrition information, food sovereignty issues, food waste. This is our opportunity, okay? To learn together, to develop the empathy, to gain the education, and to find the tools that we need and find these success stories in order for us to create change in the world. Every part of my life, of all of our lives, food touches. I'm Chef Maria Hines, and on the show, we're going to explore how to make food taste mind-blowingly delicious, nutrition, celebrating the great outdoors, the impact that food has on the planet, our bodies, and our communities. We're gonna go on this journey together. We're gonna learn, we're gonna cook, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Today, we're gonna be making fry bread, which I'm super excited about. And what I didn't know is the history of fry bread, which is really, really important. Bobby, can you share a little bit about the history of fry bread?
Fry bread is something I think we all get excited for, and I say we as in Native Americans. But the hard part about fry bread is that Native Americans were displaced by the government, and in doing that, they gave us rations. They gave us things that we traditionally weren't used to. We were introduced to flours, and flours were not as common in the ways that we made flours. And we were introduced to lards, lots of butters. If you can imagine just seeing something foreign like that, like how am I supposed to eat this? Families started learning how to do it in their own means and different rations as well, because some families didn't get dairy and not all families were given these staples. They were given parts of staples. Somehow, every direction you go in the nation, any language that you speak with Native Americans, you can say fry bread and it's just a common smile, and it's a soul food for us, and you get some excitement about it.
It's awesome. Well, and thank you for sharing that. And it's such a privilege and it's such an honor to be able to eat these incredible foods that I've never experienced in these flavor combinations that were made with so much love, with so much reverence. It was really, really incredible. Yeah. So y'all will be able to see a little bit of that as Bobby teaches us how to make some fry bread today. All right, hey y'all, we are back and we are finally in the kitchen. I'm here with Bobby and she's gonna show us how to make some fry bread. So lead us to it, Bobby.
Yeah, here we go with a little bit of fry bread. This is a little bit more of the way that my family taught me how to make it. This is also something where when you get in the kitchen with natives, boy, can it get a little bit hairy on how you make your fry bread and in what direction that you take it. So
everyone has their own little recipe.
Yeah, and everybody has their own little tweak, and there's different who's better and which way is better and how it's better. So those can definitely be a little bit of fighting words, so I'm not trying to say mine's better, but my mom taught me really well. We're outside, so we're just gonna get a few things going and warmed up and start with a little bit water. Gonna go in with a little bit of yeast here. Then we have a little bit, some sugar. Get it activated and going for good. And we're gonna play around here with a little bit of dairy.
We're making some fry bread, but we're also going to be making dinner at the same time because, as always, you kind of multitask in the kitchen a little bit. So don't mind me. I'm just over here busting out a little bit of vegetable stock. So what was that in there?
Some eggs, and we're just gonna activate those eggs there with a little bit of salt.
Nice.
And get that broken up a little bit.
So how often do you make fry bread?
Not as often as I'd like.
Yeah?
But that's a good thing. But definitely something that happens about every other month, whether it's an occasion of family coming and sometimes family leaving, and as well sometimes just because, damn, I want some fry bread. If you can see that loveliness happening right in there, we've got some blooming. So we're just starting to pop, we're starting to bloom, and that's
what's going down right
what's
there?
happening when we get a little bit of that feeding process happening. And then we're going to marry these and start playing with a little bit of flour after that. You can see that there's no separation. We got a little bit of bubbles, we got a little bit of foam there. You got that kind of good, creamy looking style going on. Now we want to have fun with these two together. We're kind of cooling it down, whisking it, and not being able to just throw it all in there hot. We're playing with two different components, and we definitely want to just baby that yeast.
And so what Bobby is trying to do is she just wants to make sure that it doesn't break. There's the eggs in there, so if anything is too hot, if the eggs get too hot, they'll start to curdle. And so she's just being really careful with the temperature and the incorporation of it. That looks beautiful. That looks perfect.
Yeah.
I think I've learned a lot of my reverence for food through these incredible like ranchers and fishers and foragers that are like growing the food and they're stewarding the land. And I've learned about my food and I've learned about the land. You know, they're not coming at it from a purely like extractive process.
Resources is really a Western concept. The idea that there's something there for the taking, for the using, and there's not any consideration given to, well, what's my relationship to the thing that I'm taking? We have the word skelt, which means flesh, or meat or the body. And it actually has the same root word, Q-E-L, kel, which means something that's on top, or something that's, high up. But it can also be high in terms of importance. So the flesh of the land, the animals, the things that we ate, were something that was extremely important to us. So everything with our food is a relationship.
What can I do?
You can whisk, and I will add.
Just like in culinary school.
We're gonna start just with the AP flour. We start a little bit slower, just kind of getting that built up, and you can kind of start seeing it pull off of the bowl a little bit and sticking to the bowl. Those are all good things and good signs, and so this is the fun part where we get to make a mess. It's something I remember as a kid and being able to do with my family and standing there with battered fingers and making monster noises at each other and just being a little bit silly, so.
Making any sort of bread is like you really just get to get in tune with the product. And
yeah, so I think we're pretty comfortable to start getting ready to kneading.
All right.
So we'll just get a little bit going on here.
So should I just dump it in
Yep,
here?
so we're just going all in, trying to keep a little more towards the center. We're just gonna keep feeding it now, and we're gonna feed it until it feels good.
All right.
So we're just gonna start a little bit along the edges and kind of get our hands a little bit messy and start pulling it into a kneading fashion.
This is beautiful. And
so,
then what consistency are we looking for?
So we're just looking for that pop back that you would in your hand.
Oh, okay.
And so you're looking for that consistency where it's not too tough, but it comes back to you once you start pulling that
in there?
off. Yeah,
And
because
when Bobby is saying how it's pulling, what she's talking about is like, as I'm pulling it, the dough is actually coming with me. So when you pull it back, you see how it's kind of traveling with? That means the dough is starting to come together. And then see how my hands are like, check that out. See how sticky those are? So that we're gonna add more flour too. So that way it should be pulling off of my hands here in a minute.
I'm looking at this and it's just pulling perfectly at your fingers. It's rounding and shaping right to the point. I'm gonna stop with flour.
Okay.
So we're just gonna let this hang out. Again, we want those yeasts to activate, and what we want it to do is to at least double in size. This is where it can be a little bit more forgiving, and again, who makes their fry bread how, and the difference of if you proof it once, if you proof it twice. And so today we're gonna work with this one and let this proof once,
beautiful. And then how long does it take? An hour, 2 hours, like 3 for proofing?
We're gonna just go on a ballpark and say close to 2 hours.
Put a little blankie over and let her go to bed?
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing.
Nice.
So right now we're actually over at Kettle Falls, which was the largest fishery in the area.
Kettle Falls is a really important place because it was a convergence. It was a place where all the different tribes came together. The Lakes people, even I think Kalispell people came over here. Spokane people, we certainly came over here.
There was 400,000 fish, giant salmon that would push in through this little area. There was what they called a salmon chief. The salmon chief would distribute salmon to each tribe and each household daily. It was a huge deal, and when they put up the dam, they, I think, put up the dam as a means to cut us off from a food supply that would keep us independent of the United States, because this was such a productive area and culture too. Peaceful interaction between dozens of tribes. This dam really did destroy like an industry, like a fishing industry that benefited everybody in the area, and even now would benefit all residents of the area.
Bobby was telling me a little bit about this beautiful ribbon apron that she's wearing. Can you tell us a little bit about what the ribbons represent?
So typically the men wear what are called ribbon shirts. I enjoy having that part of my representation for my people, and so I talked to my mom and told her I had this idea for an apron because we're doing this, and I was like, I can't really wear the shirt, it'll be covered. And so what happened was instead we turned it into a ribbon apron. And in doing that, we got a little bit of flare on the sides that go with it, and that's usually how it goes on the shirt. It just kind of has a little bit to go into the wind. That's kind of where I was able to have a little bit of my bougie native come out.
I love it, I love it. Can you tell me a little bit about the orange shirt that you're wearing?
Yeah, the orange is representation for the unearthed bodies that were found.
Children that they have found
in residential boarding schools. Being placed from our natural lands and being pushed into American society. And so they put us in religious schools. They took children away from their families and started trying to take away culture, take away traditional values, and take away from their families so that they didn't have that connection anymore. At last count, and we're just getting started in America, we're at 6,509 bodies unearthed.
Can we take a minute and just to honor them?
Yeah.
Quietly, just for a second?
Yeah, would love that.
That's intense. Okay. We'll cook for them tonight.
Yeah, feels good.
This is
Thank
for
you.
them,
I needed
right?
that. Yeah, we needed that.
All right.
And
All right,
I'm just gonna
boss, what are we
I'm
doing now? Let's
throwing
get back
across
to
you.
cooking.
Yeah.
So we're making dinner along with the fry bread, so we're just getting the stew going. But shortly, the dough has already risen, and we're gonna start rolling up into balls, and we have our oil hot and ready to go here, and we'll be making fry bread in just a minute. What's the next step on the fry bread?
We're gonna move into getting the fry bread ready to fry. And so we have our dough going here, and it's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna bring it down. It's been aerating, looking all beautiful. Now we're just gonna start getting ready, and I like to keep it inside my palm. That helps me know basically it's gonna be just a little bigger than my palm when I actually get to rolling it out. Take it out, get it ready. Just give it a little bit of a form.
You can see see how these beautiful little bubbles that's forming on this? That's nicely risen fry bread. You can see them right there. Those little air bubbles are just like nice little pockets of air, and that's what's gonna make it just really nice and light and fluffy. That dough is gorgeous.
So I like going, it's like a fast process once we get our oil up to speed, and our oil is at a proper temperature. And one of the tricks that I learned in being able to do that is just having a little pinch, but not too much because, we want fry bread. And from there, just checking your oil, dropping in a little piece when you start seeing those beautiful little bubbles, that's a good sign that it's close. And from there, we want that bread to, or that little piece of dough to pop up. If it pops up instantly, our oil is too hot. If it sits and it just doesn't really move too much and those bubbles are still not really working the way that they're agitating right now, then we're too low. So right about there, it could still use a little bit more heat, but we have time because we're still rolling some out and getting ready to actually get it into the pan. I'll get this one started here. We're just gonna start with a little dusting of flour. And in there too is just kind of giving us a little visual of like basically how big we're looking for. And using this cute little rolling pin I have here.
That's a nice rolling pin.
I'm just gonna keep working with it, but at the same time, I'm not trying to apply too much pressure. I'm just using the pressure of the palm of my hand and continue to keep moving it and trying to let it grow. But you're looking for like enough to where you can almost see through, but not to the point where it's breaking through. So.
What's that little window do?
Well, that's just an old family secret that I really can't tell you about. No, I'm just kidding. There's
every time.
Can't help it. But no, it's another thing. It's a preference, and for me, I the only thing I've ever been able to get a straight answer for whenever I've asked that question growing up was basically that it helps it cook a little more evenly.
If this is good to go, do I just?
Yeah, so we're just going in and dropping away from you.
And then you can see how it's bubbling there a little bit, and I think that's another sign there that the oil is ready. And then check it out. See how all of a sudden it's frying around there? And then we're gonna turn it down now that it's gone up to the temperature that we want. And then you're waiting to see the color turn, so you have like a little bit of like golden brown around the edges, and that's how you know when it's time to flip it.
We're starting to look for a little bit of golden brown that kind of gives us know that we're developing that crust, and that crust where it's sealing on the outside and cooking on the inside, and that is just sexy right there.
Look at that.
I mean,
look how beautiful that is.
I cannot wait to eat this.
Fry bread was really the result of like the deprivation of really every community from their traditional territories, their traditional gathering areas, and their traditional food sources. Each nation or group of nations was put onto a reservation and essentially held by gunpoint to stay on the reservations. They were also not treated as citizens. We weren't, considered citizens until 1924. Most natives agree that while fry bread is tasty, it comes with a downside. You'll find fry bread at, like most family gatherings and celebrations, and it's almost a way of honoring, the ancestors. Holding local and regional representatives and national representatives accountable for what they're doing that's specifically either targeting or negatively affecting like indigenous communities is something that everybody can do.
Oh my God, I can't wait for these. Do you see how beautiful they are? Look at that. Oh man. Right now we have some beautiful venison stew. Now, what's the secret here?
The secret here is you just. I am a dipper, but I like to be able to kind of have a little bit pushed aside, and just kind of give. Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
look at
it's
that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Ooh. Oh, this is so good, and it has every flavor that I would want it to have, not just for fall, but just being delicious and being able to really be thankful for the venison and being able to have some of these beautiful vegetables in the fall. I love it.
Hey, thank you so much for teaching me how to cook this and, bringing me into your world. And I want to thank so much for all of Bobby's people and all of Bobby's family who's been here and supporting us and sharing their stories with us. And we're really just super, super excited and feel really, really fortunate to be able to be here with you and your fam. So thank you so much.
Yes, kwam kwam.
So check out this beautiful, beautiful fry bread. If you like what you're seeing today, please hit the like and the subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Sorry. Okay, I guess.
I'm sorry, we're cooks.